Hello, hello, hello. I want to give everyone a chance to come on as we talk tonight about comparison. Tonight I'm actually going live onto social media networks. So the first on Facebook as well as Instagram. I have not. Hey, Mama Mavis, how you doing? I have never been live on Instagram, so I'm excited to be able to do that tonight. But while we're waiting for others to come on, I just want to say, hey, I hope y'all had a great day. I hope things are going awesome. I'm excited. I'm always excited, right? But I'm happy about tonight. I'm happy to talk about comparison tonight. Why? Because we all do it in some capacity. So just to introduce myself to the Instagram viewers, because like I said, yes. Tonight, like I said, I'm live on Facebook, live on Instagram. This is my first time going live on Instagram, so I am excited. Hey, y'all. I'm just testing out to see kind of how stuff works. So, again, for those who do not know me, my name is Coach Ronda S Barnes. I own a business called RSB Coaching. I am a life coach. I am a speaker. I am a trainer. What I focus on is really helping people break through and get focused on living a life that God intended for them to live. And so what that includes is just deliverance, inner healing, helping people just walk in their most authentic self without feeling like you have to be somebody other than who God called you to be. And so with that, it's a process. We all go through things in life. And so sometimes you need somebody that can walk with you as you walk through this process. And that is what I was created to do. That's what I love to do. I do it through truth. I do it through honesty, but I also do it through love. I love people and I want people just to experience life that is worth living. So we're going to go ahead and get started just talking tonight. So where did this concept or this thought, this live tonight on comparison come from? Well, in my day, like in the other job that I do, I work at a nonprofit, and some of the individuals that I train, I noticed also within myself, just comparison. And what I mean by comparison is really just measuring yourself against somebody else, measuring yourself, whether it be how somebody else does a particular thing, or how they speak, what their business looks like, how they preach, how they speak. I mean, just in different attributes. So when I begin to just think about when I was watching my students, because that's the thing. I love to watch people, but I was watching one of my students in particular, and what I noticed was he was afraid to make a decision because he did not want to be wrong. But the more we kind of talked and just kind of interacted with each other, I saw really the foundation of it was comparison. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of what some of the detriments of comparison is, and how you can begin to stop comparing yourself because you're wasting time. So just to get started, one of the things that I noticed with comparison is that when you measure yourself against somebody else, we always measure ourselves based off of the end result. We never see the process. And so many times we'll try to live up to what we see in the ending, not knowing that this person or what you see on the outside may not necessarily be what it took to get there. And so we're trying to cause ourselves to be and do and act in a certain way based off of the end result. And we don't know the process that the person took in order to get to that place of where they are. And even if you like what somebody else does, even if you want or you know that you're called to a certain area, and I'll just use myself as an example. I'm a speaker. I know I'm called to speak. I know I'm a minister. I'm called to just deliver people, right? That's what I do. And so if I personally compare myself to somebody like a Ryan Lestrange, or if I compare myself to anybody at all, it wouldn't make sense. Number one, why? Because as you go throughout your process, God will take you through situations to increase your capacity, right? And so if I know and I have a vision that in my future I will be on a stage speaking to millions of people, I'm doing deliverance ministry, right? The process that I need to go through in order to get to that place is going to look different from somebody else's process. Even if it looks like we're going to end up in the same place, the process is different. Why? Because I may be called to somebody different. I may have to deal with a different type of situation in the audience that I'm called to. I may be called to just see, hear, and sense things based off of the arena that God is going to put me in, right? And so if I'm trying to measure myself, my sound, how I act, how I respond, according to somebody else, I'm going to miss some key pieces that I need in order for me to have staying power when I get to where I'm supposed to be. And staying power is important. It makes a difference between your longevity and between your overnight success. And a lot of times what we deem to be overnight success is really a long behind the scenes process. I see and know so many people where the Lord is using, they're emerging into the spotlight because the Lord is the one that's bringing them to the forefront. And what happens is people will see them coming to the forefront and you will assume that this process was overnight. However, these people have been preparing in the background for years. Just because you didn't see them does not mean that this was something that blew up overnight. But how can you tell the difference? The longevity. God does not do, he's not just concerned about our right now. Even in our anxiousness to get to where he wants us to be, he's not just concerned about what we're dealing with right now, how we're seeing it right now, and even how it feels right now. Because he knows even in the growing pain that we may experience right in this second, when we move forward and we get to that place where he's designed for us to be, we're going to have to be able to hold that place. We're going to have to be able to stand firm and be solid in that place. And so if you have not gained what you need to stay, you will crumble, you will break, and you will fall. I see so many people who we get tired or you get discouraged because of your process, but you have to walk it out. There are certain things where if you do not walk the process out according to how God needs for you to do it, the things that you will miss could literally make or break you. It could even potentially cause you to lose some mental capacity. Because God, like I said, God is not concerned about where you are and how you feel right this second. And so even with looking at somebody else and liking and desiring, another thing that I noticed was because we live in the information age, and what I mean by that is information is at your fingertips. It's so much information. It's so many, like anything you want to know, you can go to Google. It's just so many documentaries. There's so many people that are coaching. There's so many people that has all this information about how you should do something. So many how-to places. And it's awesome, but it can also be overwhelming if you are stuck in a place of comparison. Why? Because it's so much information. You're comparing to see how can I get to where somebody else is. And so when you're doing that, you don't know what you need. And so because you don't know what you need, you become overwhelmed and you back up and then all of a sudden all these thoughts are going through your head and you don't know what's going on and you stop. Right? Just because information is out there does not mean it's information that you have to take. We have to learn how to get the concept. When you're trying to move forward, even in business, even in your personal life, becoming a better person, because there's so much out, you have to learn how to get the concept. Take the foundational principle of whatever it is, the information is that you're trying to get, and then apply that to your life as opposed to what some of the network marketers say, rip off and duplicate. So you try to literally do exactly what somebody else does, hoping you're going to get the same result. That doesn't work for most people. And again, when you compare what you're doing to the end result of what somebody else is doing, you'll always miss the details in the in-between. Because a lot of times people don't have time to tell you all of the cries, all of the no's, all of the frustrations, all of the places where they felt inadequate, all of the places where they felt like they would never get to where they need to be, all of the places where it looked like stuff was not gonna happen, and all of a sudden God moved, and then there it was. And so what you're seeing is that end result of God moving, as opposed to that behind the scenes process. But when I going back to like the rip off and duplicate piece, because a lot of times what I see is people will try to take the process of what you think somebody else did and apply it and do the same thing. It doesn't work. What you want to learn how to do is be authentic in who you are. If you don't know who you are, learn who you are. Learn what you like. Learn what you dislike. Learn what you're good at. That's one of the best things about life, and we miss it. We will miss things that we need if we're always trying to be and do and act like somebody else. We'll miss the beautiful things. We'll miss the small things. We'll miss those little pieces that add to us to make us who we are, because we're trying to do what seems like it's the right thing. We're trying to say things the right way. We're trying to do things the right way. We're trying to pray the right way. We're trying to write books the right way. But the right way is the way that God did it in you, through you, the way He wants it to come out. And so when we stop, and I'm telling you this because I do it, and the Lord is really dealing with me about it, trying to model yourself after somebody else. Even with mentoring. Now, I believe that you have mentors. However, I do not believe that you take on that everything about that person. So if I had like having a mentor, that's somebody that I look up to, somebody that I can go to, and if I need some advice, I can go to them and let them know what I need, or kind of what I'm dealing with, and get their wisdom and their insight. I take that wisdom and insight, take it back to the Lord, and say, God, this is what I have. How do I take this thing? Hey, Kim, how you doing? And say, look, this is what I have. How can I take this thing and apply it to my life? When I don't do that, and then I try to turn around and do their mannerisms and do it exactly like how they said do it, 99% of the time, it does not work. Why? Because even the information they give you has to be applied to you. So if I have a coach, if I have a mentor, if anybody gives me wisdom, that wisdom is not for you to walk it out that way. That wisdom is for you to take it and mesh it with your authenticity, quirkiness and all of that, and let that be come out through you the way it should. Because one, even your mentor's audience, or that person that you look up to, that person, that whoever that you're getting information from, that person's audience is different from yours. So if you shift and you change the way you do things, trying to model it after somebody else, or even after those that you get wisdom from, it's not going to work. Because the people that God has called to you to are like you. There's something in you that they either want to be like, or they need your help helping them get there, or they can see themselves or what they want to be in you, which is how they connect to you. So if you change that piece, or if that piece is not authentic, if that piece is being shaped after something that is foreign, then you'll miss it. You'll miss the people that you call to. You'll miss the people that God has called you to minister to. You'll miss the people who are literally hungry for what's in you. And as we're talking, I think about David, right? When David got ready to go out to fight Goliath, right? He was bold. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine, right? He was bold. He knew who he was. He knew what he was supposed to do. Now, there was people out on the battlefield who knew more as it pertained to battle than he did. However, he knew God. He knew what was in him. He knew what he could do, right? So when they tried to get him to go out in somebody else's armor, he couldn't do it. Why? Because if he had walked out there on that battlefield with somebody else's armor that he was not comfortable with, that he did not know, that he was not acquainted with, that he had no idea in how to utilize and use, he would have missed it, and he probably would have died. Why? Because he would have been weighty with something that he shouldn't have had to begin with. But when he said, okay, we're going into battle, I'm just imagining if I was David, I'm going into battle, I'm already mad because Goliath has the audacity to defy my God, right? So he's like, okay, let me go out here, let me kill him. I've already killed a bear. I've already killed a lion. Let me go out here. He's just a little bit bigger. God didn't fail me then. He didn't fail me with the bear. He didn't fail me with the lion. He's not going to fail me with Goliath. This was based off of what he had already done. So he knew himself. He knew what he was good at. Even when people said, look, if you go out here without this armor on, you're going to die. If you step out here without this armor, because this is what we're used to, and this is what we know works, if you step out and you do this thing, you're probably gonna die. So how do you separate that? Now, mind you, if David was comparing himself to the people that were already there, that had been out there for like 40 days, right? Been out there 40 days. Nobody had fought anybody. Nobody had fought Goliath. They were scared, right? So David comes up here. He's been out here for 40 days. He goes out there in his whole authenticity. He went out there the way God created him to go out there. He didn't try to change. He didn't try to find another weapon to make it look like he was just as big, as bad as everybody else. He didn't do any of that. What David did was he went out there with what seemed to be small. He went out there with what others may have looked at like a slingshot. What is that going to do? He went out there in his authenticity with what he had. He utilized what he had. David used what he had. He didn't go trying to get nobody else's stuff so that he could look like the rest of the fighters that was on the field. He didn't go and try to get a shield that he had no idea how to use. He didn't go and try to get a sword that he was not used to using, that he had never used in battle. He literally went out there with the very thing that he had. He utilized what the Lord had given him and had taught him how to use in war. So when he fought him with these battles, when he got to the bigger giant, he had precision, right? Because he had been used to using this slingshot. So he knew the slingshot. He knew how to use the slingshot. He knew how to be concise and precise with the slingshot so that when he pulled it back, that sucker went straight to Goliath, killed him, right? But if he had went out there trying to compare himself based off of what was the norm, based off of what people had said, that's good, David couldn't. No, he couldn't. If he had went out there trying to look like somebody else, comparing himself because people said, that's what should have been done, because they were used to battle. Now, mind you, I'm going to say it again. They were already out there for 40 days, right? They were used to battle. They were used to being out there. In their mind, this is how things are supposed to be. And so David stepping out, skinny, young, inexperienced, in battle, in that type of battle, right? Which goes right back to your process. David was inexperienced in that type of battle. However, him going through his process, when his brothers was out at war, he was out there tending to the sheep, right? The sheep ain't that big of a deal. I mean, he tending to sheep. He's out there tending to the sheep. He's watching the sheep. He's making sure the sheep, he's defending the sheep. Something that looks like it's not that big of a deal. He probably got tired sometimes. It was probably boring. I mean, it probably seemed like nothing was happening. I mean, he putting in all this work. He's making sure these sheep, they just wandering. They don't know what they're doing. He just got to make sure they eat and don't nobody eat them, right? Don't let no wild animals get them. He's doing this every single day consistently, faithfully. He's making sure they're safe. He's making sure they don't stray off. He's making sure that they're not, that they're getting what they need. He's being faithful in that area that looks small, that looks boring, that looks like nothing is happening. It looks mundane. It looks like it's the same thing over and over and over again. However, in that process, now mind you, if David had been like, look, I can go to battle. No, you're supposed to be over here with the sheep. But the sheep ain't doing, I can go to battle. I'm just as good as them. I'm just as good. I can do the same thing they do. All I got to do is learn. If David had ran out there, just think about it. Think about it. If David compared himself to his brothers, saying, hey, I'm just as good, I'm just as good as they are. They got taught why I can't be taught. Let me go out there and do what they're doing. And if David had ran out there ahead of schedule, ahead of time, because he got tired of watching the sheep. Because mind you, David didn't go out there to watch the sheep. Like, he didn't go out to battle on his own. His dad sent him there. So his father sent him to check on his brothers. And he came into a Kairos moment. Right place, right time. You're not going to play with my God. Let me go ahead and kill this joker. Right? But it wasn't because he went looking for it. It wasn't because he got tired of watching the sheep and now he's going to run over here and take and go to war. That was not his intention. He was faithful in doing this piece over here. Through that process of him learning how to killing out of necessity, he killed the sheep. He killed the bear, he killed the lion. Now he gets to Goliath. Everything that he learned over here that looked boring, he could use that over here. He used that over here, and then from there, stuff just started taking off. And I really feel like that's what we do, because we're in this place and we're so anxious, and we know that there's so much in us, and we know that we can go and get on that stage, and we can talk just like anybody else. We can go and pastor a church. We can pastor just like anybody else can pastor. We can go and do all these things. However, what do you need in your process to help you have that staying power, to help you have the capacity to hold everything that you're going to deal with when you get to that place? That's what the process is for. The good, the bad, the ugly, the crying, the happy, the sad, the irritated, the highs, the lows, the disappointment. That's what all of that is for. Because when you learn how to manage those areas, when you literally get to the place that God is calling you to be, you have what you need in order to be able to stay there. And you have the capacity to hold what's in you, and as well as pour out and give to others, right? Because that's what it's about. It's about us making sure that we're okay with us. You have to be okay with you. I don't care what nobody said. Do they the thing about it, and especially with comparison will rob you of getting to know you and your greatest strength. Comparison will rob you from even understanding why you do what you do. I think sometimes we spend so much time trying to change what God has called us to walk into. Now I'm gonna give you an example. My whole life, right? People have told me I was intimidating. I've been called mean. People have said that I'm just like I was intimidating, right? And I'm talking about ever since I was little, 12, 13, 14. And so my whole life, for the longest time, I would try to shift that because I didn't want people to feel uncomfortable. I felt like I was a little bit too harsh. However, what I learned about me is I don't like lies. I am an advocate for right. I am going to speak truth, right? With wisdom, but I'm gonna tell the truth. I'm just you cannot do wrong and feel like I'm gonna say okay, especially if you give me, or if we have that type of relationship where you give me that right to correct you. Don't ask me a question if you don't want to know the truth. That's what I tell everybody, because I do not feel like if you're wrong, or if I can see you're walking with your eyes closed and you come and you ask me a question about something, I'm going to tell you the truth. I cannot not tell you the truth. I'm going to be honest with you. Why? Because I love you. And if I'm not honest with you, you cannot get better. So that's how I live my life. And so because of this, growing up, that's just how that's how I was. I was the person where now I have a little bit more grace. And I have a little bit more tact with my tongue now that I'm older. But even growing up, it was something where, certain stuff, I just had, I was going to call it out. I was going to say this didn't make sense. I wasn't scared. I was not scared of anything. So if there was an issue, I was going head on. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to make it plain. We're going to make it clear. We're going to deal with it, and we're going to keep it moving. And so in that, because I was just very direct, people would say I was intimidating. And so for the longest, I would try to change it. I would be quiet. I just would not be who I was. And I was miserable. Very miserable, until I started seeking the Lord. Why? I've tried to change this. I've tried to do things differently, and I cannot change it. Like, what is it? Like, this has to be a part of who I am, right? It is. I'm direct. That's just who I am. That's what I do. But I'm direct because of the call that's on my life. I operate in my call. One, I'm called to deliverance. I'm called to help people get free. In order for you to get free, you have to get truth. Truth sets you free. Truth causes you to shift into another direction. I'm not afraid of resistance. I'll hit a thing until it breaks. But that's what I do. I'm not afraid if people get angry. I love you enough to let you get angry with me, get mad, scream, holler, whatever you got to do. But then come on, let's get this thing together because we got to walk it through. So that's how I'm wired. But I've been wired like that from birth. So if I compared myself to people who operated or acted in a certain way, which I did for a long time, I would have missed out on what I needed for this stage, for today, this stage of where I am in my life. If I had allowed people to continue to tell me that you're intimidating, you're mean, you don't like, you're just harsh. If I had allowed those things to settle in me and I took those words like they were actually who I was, then I would not be prepared for where I am right now in my life. And so it's so important that So it's so important that we make sure, like, you have to get to know who you are. You have to learn who you are. You have to learn what makes you tick. Because even if what you do looks similar to what somebody else does, I guarantee you, your audience will not be the same. You may even have the one person, right? And I've seen this happen. One person. Say, for instance, you got one person in your audience, right? And this is one person that God has called you to, and then God sends somebody else, and they're both ministering to that person. You two can minister to that same person, right? The same person could be both of your audience. However, you're ministering to one area in their life, and the other person is ministering to another area. So you have to know, even with what's in you, how to utilize it. Like, what you're called and you're chosen for something, for somebody, for an audience. Even if you're a mechanic, even if you are it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you love to do, whatever that thing is that God has called you to do, that thing is for a purpose. It is for a reason, and it is because somebody needs it. And so when you deny the truth of who you are and try to fashion yourself after somebody else, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the world a disservice, because obviously if you are here, there's something in you that is needed. So when you don't get in touch with that, you cause other people to not even be able to do what they need to do. They got to wait for somebody else to come through and do what you should have been doing. I'm just saying. Yes. You have it in you to do what you need to do. You are so much greater than what you give yourself credit for. And as awkward, hey Tay, how you doing? As awkward as we may seem, because I'm telling you, people, hey, I am who I am. It is what it is, right? Hold on. I am who I am. It is what it is. For the longest time, I struggled. Not anymore. Why? Because I know what I'm called to do. And when you know who and what you have been called to, when you know what, and even if you don't exactly know who you're called to, there are some things that's in you that you cannot change. There are some things in you that have been in you from birth. There are some things in you that, as much as you tried to shift it, you tried to change it, you tried to make people comfortable with it, this thing still remains. I guarantee you, when you walk through this process, it is a part of what you need to have for your future, for your purpose, for your destiny. And so you cannot shift it. You cannot change it. You need to embrace it and allow the Lord to show you how to mature it. It needs to mature. It needs to grow, just like I said before. Initially, my tongue was sharp, right? So when I would tell truth, it could cut. I mean, I think that's a part of my lineage. However, there's some wisdom with it now. So I know I don't have to say everything. I know everybody cannot take the same type of response So I know how to season my words with grace when it needs to be seasoned with grace, but I also know how to kind of hammer that thing when it needs to be hammered in order for it to break. But that's all a part of the process. Just like how David went through his process with the sheep that led him to Goliath and killing Goliath. That's the same process you're going through. That's the same process that I'm going through. So never despise what people call small beginnings, because that small beginning is your foundation. So I don't even, like, there was a time when I looked at it like, oh, when am I ever going to get there? However, now you're building your foundation. When your foundation is solid and you move forward, you don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to crumble. You don't have to worry about whether or not you have the capacity to hold the future. You don't have to worry about whether or not it's in you to do what you're called to do. Everything that we want to rush over to get to the end, like the preparation pieces, those pieces that seem mundane, those pieces that seem aggravating, when you rush over those or you skip over those, you're literally leaving holes. You're leaving holes in your foundation where if you don't deal with it now, you're going to have to come back and deal with it later. So why not just do it now? Just like with your money, right? We'll use money as an experience. We want $1 million, but we got bad credit. Fix it. We want to be a business mogul, but we won't take classes to teach us what we need to do for business. Fix it. You can't skip and run. Now, you can. However, you'll find yourself backtracking, trying to go back and fix it. So that's just a part of the process. And that's why it's important not to compare. Don't compare yourself with other people. Enjoy where you are. Enjoy where you are. Enjoy it. Take it in, breathe it in, learn, soak it in. Don't rush. You don't have to rush. A lot of times people say, there's an urgency. There's an urgency to get in the presence of the Lord. Hallelujah, Jesus, right? But now there are times when you get to know the Lord and you get in his presence, he'll show you how to do what you need to do. But I think sometimes we're so urgent. We rush so much and so hard to try to create this life that we don't take the time to really build a solid foundation on, because we're comparing what we have or what we don't have with what somebody else has. And even in that, with the comparison, good versus bad, I have clients where they feel like if somebody else does good, then that means that they did bad. No, it just is. That's the beauty of being a human. That's the beauty of being who you were called to be. That is the beauty of being you. There is a lot of stuff that we try to deem as good or bad. It just is. I'm loud. It just is. I can be quiet sometimes. However, I got a big personality. I'm okay with it. It's not good. It's not bad. It's for a purpose. God created me this way. You know? So once you get to that place where it's just like, look, God, I am who I am. Thank you. You have so much peace. You have so much peace, and you have to remind yourself when you get into new situations and you get into new places of elevation and you get into, you go through transition into those places that may feel uncomfortable. You have to remind yourself that I am who I am, and God made me this way, and whatever I need to learn, He's going to show me, He's going to teach me, and whatever I don't, Lord, show me so that I can not take it on because it ain't mine, you know. But just learning how to walk that path, learning how to be who you are, learning how to embrace yourself, flaws and all, because you'll wake up one day and you'll look back like, oh, I should have. You don't want to do that. You want to love you for you now. You want to enjoy you, flaws and all. Everything about you is purpose driven. And anything that you really dislike, change it. Really, it's going to be hard work. Change it. You have that right. You have that choice. But embrace you. Nobody can be you better than you. Nobody can do what you do the way you do it. Even if it's similar, nobody can be you. If you are trying to be somebody, you can't even be nobody else. Embrace you. There's awesome stuff about you that people need. Awesome stuff about you that people need. So it's so important. Don't compare yourself with other people. It's pointless. You wasting time. You're literally wasting time. Because if God called you to create something brand new and you're trying to fashion what's in you to look like somebody else, you're literally wasting time. You're not doing what you need to do. If God called you to create a new sound, or if you're supposed to be creating a new book, you're supposed to be creating a new language, you're supposed to be creating something, right? Something brand new that has never been seen before, but you're trying to walk in comparison, trying to model and fashion yourself after what you think is working right now at the time, when God's trying to prepare you what could be coming in the future, you're going to miss it. God called you to be a millionaire. You trying to get $1 million like how somebody else is doing it right now. And the Lord is giving you future strategies for 10 years from now. And you trying to make yourself do it this way. No, follow the pattern that God is giving to you right now. Because I guarantee you, eventually, at some point, that pattern is going to take off. That thing that He's placed in you is going to be useful. That thing is going to be needed. So follow that. We have so many people trying to rip off and duplicate other people's stuff. Be you. That is like the biggest breath of fresh air. Somebody who is okay with who they are. They can laugh, cry, whatever they need to do, but they're okay with being who God called them to be. So I'll open it up. If you guys have any questions or comments, talk to me. Let's talk about it. And like I told you guys before, for those who do not know me, my name is Coach Ronda. I own a business called RSP Coaching, where I am a life coach. I'm a speaker, trainer. I help people be who they are. I help people be who God called them to be. I help them break through and get focused on living a life worth living, right? Hey, Natalie, how you doing? So if you guys do not have any questions for me tonight, this was good. I feel like I can breathe, right? But if you don't have any questions, please visit my website. If you need a coach, if you need somebody to kind of walk you through the process, you're trying to find you're trying to find just that place of authenticity. You're trying to start a business, or you want to open anything. Like if you feel like you call it a ministry, if you feel like you're supposed to be doing something, you just don't know what it is, connect with me. Connect with me. Sometimes people will have a weight on their life that can help break you through into the next place where you're supposed to be. My clients have gone from being confused about what kind of business they're supposed to start to owning their own nonprofit. One of my clients was afraid to start a YouTube channel. Now she's she has a YouTube channel and she's doing great. Another one of my clients, she was unemployed for some years, probably about 10 years. She wanted to get back into the job market through coaching. She ended up with 2 jobs. And 2 jobs that she actually loved, making good money. So coaching is not just about somebody. Now I love Jesus, right? But God wants us to have some stability, right? And He wants us to get out what's in us. And so coaching is not just about you. It's about you doing what's in you. And just walking that thing out and having somebody there that can help support you, that can champion you, that can root for you, that is excited when you succeed. Sometimes you need a cheerleader, right? I cheer for everybody. I'm excited about everything. But yeah, so if you want somebody, you need somebody to partner with you, you can visit my website, www.rondasbarnes.org, and that's RONDA, no H, SBARNES.org. Yeah, visit me, visit my website. Let's connect. Let's see how we can get you in line, walking in the path that God called you to walk in, because it's time, right? It's time. How long are you going to sit on your idea? How long are you going to keep talking about, I could do this, but how long are you going to not walk in ministry? How long are you not going to do what God called you to do? How long are you going to continue to be afraid? Come on. Let's get it. It's time to go. Hey, Anita, how you doing? So, yeah, I had fun tonight, you guys. So, if you have not joined the Freedom Community, I think you need to do that, right? So, the Freedom Community is just a community of people who want to be free. So, we talk about everything from deliverance to being free. How do we forgive? How do we embrace who we are? It's Freedom Community. It's a Facebook group. It's a closed group because sometimes we may talk about some things that are a little deep. But yeah, join the group. Join the group. You can also join my email list. It's a lot of stuff you can do to connect with me, y'all. I'm just saying. But yeah, so I'm gonna go because this is a sign that I'm tired, y'all. So have a great evening, and I will talk to you guys really soon. But again, visit my website. Join the Freedom Community so we can walk this thing out together. I have some awesome stuff coming up in the next couple of months. I'm finishing up my Creating Healthy Boundaries course. This is the last Thursday with that course. Awesome 4-week course. We're probably going to do it again. Maybe. But I do have some other trainings, another mentor group that we're going to do where we're going to end our mentoring program at Kiowa Island, but you'll hear more about that. That's in South Carolina, but you'll hear more about that in the future. So I just thank you guys for joining. Have a wonderful, awesome night, and I will talk to you guys soon.